Linguistic mediation is an art. Many writers, singers, poets try to describe it, although the one I mostly enjoyed is Italo Calvino. The Italian writer, in The Invisible Cities, describes Marco Polo's adventure to the Kublai Khan's palace. What occurs in the book is just a trustable description of the linguistic mediation. It is used precisely every minute of our life, and most of the time we don't even realize. We use linguistic mediation when we aren't able to understand a foreign language. We often need someone who points out which is the proper meaning of a word, because it can elude us in no time if we are not clever and aware enough. Furthermore, it helps in ensuring us a better comprehension to both who listens to a public speaker and who reads any kind of text. Linguistic mediation concerns both the written and the spoken. Being a linguistic mediator is not only a job, but also a vocation in order to help the others. In the history, there have been innumerable mediators, but the one I've appreciated the most is Marco Polo, Venetian explorer, who, upon the emperor's request, bothers describing the greatness and magnificence of his empire, too extended to be known entirely. That's the beginning of this wonderful mediation, surrounded by doubts, perplexities, desires of understanding, weakness and fantasy. I consider Marco Polo a mediator because he plays with the language. When he reached the emperor's palace, he didn't know a single word of such a hardish language, but despite that, with great courage, he succeeded in describing these cities, so far, so invisible, through gestures, objects, smiles, silences. And Kublai remained stuck, observing that strange and little Venetian who managed to succeed despite difficulties, now with a jump, later with a clap of his hands. Kublai didn't desire anything but a mediator of this caliber, able to make the knowing of his massive empire enjoyable, although it was falling into pieces. However, the language takes possession of an individual, if he or she allows it. Therefore, Polo starts to speak Mongol, and now his descriptions are full of adjectives, facets. Kublai is still there, looking the explorer in his eyes, just to discover all the imagination hidden behind his speeches. Descriptions of cities now lose beauty because are too complete. Kublai asks Marco to get back to previous descriptions, straight and simple. An object to understand the subject. Keep it straight and simple. Marco Polo understood that the emperor now hangs off his word, and that, despite having understood that all the stream of words he pronounced was just fiction, he remained there, stable and motionless, as if listening to that descriptions was the only handhold in order not to remain stuck in the inferno of livings. Every city Marco describes has a characteristic of Venice, his city of origin. Venice is a model city that works as a basis for comparison to no other beautiful cities of the world, just like the ordinary life of an ordinary man can be a term for comparison to understand all the possible lives we can live. Marco Polo and Kublai are no longer mediator and emperor, but symbol emblems in a too big background, imbued with pretense and limitless beauty. By knowing all the emblems, are we able to know a bigger scenario? Nope. As much as we aren't able to speak a language, even if we know all its words. We should leave a language under our skin. We have to make it alive. Curiosity, that's what we need. Translators and interpreters allow us to know a world of masterpieces which could have been remade undiscovered to less likely people. They put their commitment in order to support these people who want to discover what's hidden outside their houses. No language doesn't mean we can be interpreters or translators, because we should grasp the meaning of the speech or the text, find the shade the author gave to the original work, and then give our free interpretation which doesn't change the sense of the original. With other words, we must maintain the same intensity and virtuosity and the same concept the author wanted to express. Unfortunately, sometimes it's extremely difficult to find an equivalent. In this case, the translation or interpreting die down, and they don't play their role anymore. Clarify and simplify. Mediation can be compared to a bridge. The stones create an arch. The arch supports the bridge. There isn't a stone that better than another creates the arch, but it's thanks to their staying together that the bridge exists, and it can carry people walking on it. In the mediation happens the same. The words compose sentences. The sentences together create speeches. They have the same role of the bridge, in other words, connecting two elements and allowing people a better comprehension of the topic in exam. There isn't a word that better creates a sentence, but together they allow the speech to exist. There isn't a bridge without stones, as much as there isn't a speech without words.